Good evening, everybody. I do apologise for being a little bit late this evening. It was the Google gremlins again. That's who I'm blaming. I always blame them. But I have with me my very special guest today. It's the second person from Switzerland I've spoken to. And this time it's Irene Kung. Welcome to my show, Irene.
Hi, Paul.
It's lovely. And thank you so much for joining me. And what has been... Your PA has been absolutely superb, Julia. She's been superb talking to me, keeping me in touch with you, traveling around, obviously doing all sorts of things and being able to sort this out. This is great.
Julia is wonderful.
Yeah, she's superb. And it's a shame she's not around to basically be on the show as well, which would have been a nice little touch. But I understand.
I would have had a lot of fun with her too.
Yeah, exactly right. You would have done. Irene, I came across your work when I spoke to a previous guest, Tuan Nguyen, and he mentioned your name and he said, you got to check this lady's work out, which I did straight away. And it just bowled me over. I've said this many, many times with my guests, but your work is unique. And so we're going to talk about how you got started and your career and your photography and how this all got going for you. And we want to talk about your books, so we'll come back to that later on. And also we're going to share some of your photographs for some of the guests, the viewers to look at. Let's start right at the very beginning. Born in Switzerland, but you spent some time in Italy by the looks of things, Irene.
Almost all my life I spent in Italy. I spent many years in Italy, in Rome.
Okay, yeah. And your mother was a painter. I've found this out on the website today. There's always something in the background which leads someone into the arts. Tell me about your mother and her painting.
Well, the most important thing to me was that very often in our family, it was very hectic and nervous.
Yeah.
And if I came home from school and everything was quiet, it meant that my mother was painting. So it was a very positive message because she was so relaxed when she was painting. So I would stand behind her without telling her that I was there, and I would just love to watch her.
Yeah. And from there, basically, you went through school, and really it was photography which you were initially interested in. Is that right?
Well, yes. Yeah. I started when I was 20.
Right.
As a photographer, but then it was hard to make a living, so I did all sorts of different things in between, mainly graphic design.
Now, what was your very first camera that you can remember using?
An Olympus.
Not the one. It's Olympus.
I remember my Olympus. I loved it, and I found it so much nicer because it was smaller than a Nikon.
This would have been the Olympus OM1 by the sound of things, the film camera.
The one.
I remember that. My friend bought the Olympus OM1 and I bought the Nikon EM, which was basically the same in sort of design and style. But yeah, there's a neat little camera. When you had that camera though, was that did that fuel your interest in photography?
Well, yes, of course it fueled it, but I would have had it with any camera. I mean, I was so big box with the hole. I mean, and I was doing my enlargements with the doors, you know, with all the liquids.
Yeah.
So it was the whole process that I loved in reproducing images. I always loved that.
It's interesting you mentioned the Durst because I used to have a Durst enlarger as well. So what were you, mono photographer, or were you basically concentrating on color, or were you transparency? What sort of work were you doing?
I was concentrated mainly on black and white.
Right.
And what is actually funny is that nowadays, when people see photographs, they always ask, well, did you work on Photoshop on that? It sounds like an insult. But with my Durst, I would do a whole lot of corrections of my photos. I had all these little tools that I built myself.
Right.
And I would also make one picture out of 3 negatives. I mean, we were able to do a lot, even with the Durst.
So you were basically layering on top of one another negatives to basically get a sort of like a double image, effectively.
No, not really. I would cover of the paper and print on the side and do it with my hand like this, so it wouldn't be, you know, a clear. And then do the other side and maybe fill in the middle. All sorts of games. It would take me at least one day to do one print.
Yeah, exactly. It was a long process in those days, wasn't it?
print.
all day to make one print. Nowadays we can do about 10 or 15 if we really got going. So from the early days of film photography, it seems as though you switched to painting.
Yes, then I switched to painting. Well, actually, I was trying out many different things. I tried out etchings. I did some sculptures, bronze sculptures. And then I got in touch with a very generous, fantastic painter.
Yeah.
And I went to work in the studio, which people would used to do in the old times, to go a bottega, they say in Italy. So you go and work for a painter and you help him prepare the canvas. And that's what I did for a while. And that brought me completely into painting. So I painted for quite a few years. I also did exhibitions with my paintings.
And what sort of... Sorry, yeah. You carry on.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, okay, sorry. So, and what sort of paintings were you doing? Was this landscape photography, or were you, from what we can see now from your photography, were you painting architecture?
No, not architecture at all. That would have been too complicated for me to paint. No, I was painting very simple subjects. In the beginning, they were very realistic, and they became slowly more abstract. The only thing really has a link to what I'm doing now is that I would, for example, paint a vase, a big vase, and it would come out from the background. I always had this of something appearing from some background.
And that's obviously where we can see, when we go to see your website, that's obviously the effect that you're creating with your photographic work.
Yeah, I like to do it dark, but I also like to do it with just a very light image, and something just comes on to you. I like this this three-dimensional effect.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I read on your website today that basically your switch back to photographer was on the basis of a suggestion given to you by a gallery owner. Is that correct?
That's correct. That was in Rome, and it was Valentina Bonomo.
Yeah.
Which has a very beautiful gallery in Rome. And she came to see me. We hardly knew each other. And she saw my paintings, and she saw some of my photographs that at that time I was doing with just a tiny camera. I wasn't doing it professionally. And she thought it was really interesting. And she said, well, Irene, if you do photography, I do an exhibition for you. So she said that, and the next day I bought a camera.
And which camera did you buy at that stage?
Then I bought a Canon.
Right.
Yeah, and I prepared this first show on architecture. There was a funny episode there too, because after a while, Valentina called me and she said, well, what would you do the show about? I mean, what's the subject of what you're working? So I said, well, I would like to do the Roman architecture. And there was a silence. Then I heard, no, Irene, no way. I am not going to show Roman architecture because everybody has done it.
So she suggested to you to move to photography, but your suggestion of the theme of the show is going to be on Roman art. She didn't think it was a good idea.
No, she didn't think it was a good idea at all. So I had, after a few days, I went to fetch her and I said, you have to come and see. And I had done a huge print of the Pantheon, and I had it on this big table of mine.
Yeah.
And she actually walked into the room and saw it from far. And without smiling or anything, she said, of course we're doing Roman architecture.
There we go. Gallery owners' decision making. How weird is that? But so how many prints did you develop or make for that particular show?
I think there were about 14. But
did
large,
you say...
I mean.
Yeah. Now, with regards to the style, was this what we're seeing? We're going to go to the screen share very shortly, folks. Got a few watches, which is nice. But with regards to the style that you've actually created, was that as we see them now, or is this a style which has developed this
No,
style?
I had no doubts. I knew exactly what I was going to do. And it is what you see in the book,
Yeah,
Invisible Cities. It was
yeah,
totally, some of the pictures are in the book
yeah.
of the ones. Yeah. And, and nobody expected me to do an exhibition at Valentina Bonomo's. And everybody
Oh,
knew nobody knew I was doing photography, but it was actually a big success. I mean, she sold
amazing.
so many photos.
How many did she sell?
I think within about 2 weeks, she sold like 60 photographs.
That's amazing.
And then she sold on. In the beginning, it was crazy. Also, it's great collectors came because everybody was talking about it. So it was such a
Yeah.
surprise. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Now, this particular gallery, was it known for painting, or was it just known as an art gallery that covered photography as well as paintings?
It's an art gallery that covers
All
everything,
aspects.
you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there's one question I'll ask you before we go to your website on the screen share. It's a little bit of a sort of a major discussion at the moment because we've just had a sort of a vote in European Parliament with regards to photography and photography in the streets and taking photographs of architecture and buildings on the based on the commercial usage of those images. Have you had any problems with that at all? Because I'm assuming that these photographs haven't been taken they have the what's the word I'm looking for? The commercial aspect hasn't been asked for you to create the work. You've actually created it on an artistic style. Have you had
I
any
never
problems on the front?
thought of the commercial aspect.
No problem at all.
No, I never thought of it. No.
No, it is quite amazing because at the moment, were you aware of this vote which took place in the European Parliament 2 weeks ago? No?
I'm not
Oh,
even.
cool. Switzerland not in Europe, so that's not part of the EU. You're safe. No. I don't know the full details of the vote, but basically there was a vote put forward that photographers would have to ask permission to take photographs of architecture and of people in the street for further use on the commercial basis. So, for instance, if I was to take a photograph of the Pantheon in Rome, I would have to ask permission for that to be used in a book. But as it turned,
in Italy, since many years, there is a law for which you're not supposed to professionally photograph. But of course, everybody's taking photographs with iPhones. It's impossible to control that.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
So, like in some squares in Rome, they would stop me and say, "You cannot take a photograph here." And I was there with a tripod.
Yeah.
And the would say it's because the tripod touches the ground. So I put the tripod on a motorcycle, so it didn't touch the ground anymore. And he said, "Okay, that's okay."
Yeah, we've got the same in London. Friends of mine were going out shooting. They did this 24-hour shoot. So they started at 8 o'clock in the evening and worked through to 8 o'clock the following evening. And they went to, you've been to London, I know, because I've seen some photographs, that beautiful shot of the Millennium Bridge and Battersea Power Station as well. Are you familiar with Covent Garden at all?
Not very much.
Okay, Covent Garden is just a little bit down the road from Trafalgar Square. And my friend put his tripod up to take a nighttime photograph. There was no one around. He took a photograph, and within five minutes, police were around saying, "Put your tripod away." This was at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's just crazy, just crazy. Well, anyway, that's
with the iPhone, you can take very good quality pictures. So
yes,
it's you cannot control it.
No, I quite agree with you, and I think basically it's ridiculous that they try to control photography as much as they do, and I have blogged about it. In my personal opinion, if you start to curtail photography of the streets, you're going to kill history. That's how I view it. Anyway, I'm going to go to screen share now, and for those that are watching, we're on Irene Kung's website, which is absolutely superb. There is no other word for it. Can you see that okay, Irene? Is that showing up on the screen now?
Yes, it is. I see
the
Magnolia.
You got your lovely, that's an oak, is that the oak tree shot? Or is that a different one? Magnolia tree, I can see now, Magnolia.
Magnolia.
Yeah, Magnolia.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're going to show us the cover of your book shortly, Invisible Cities, let's stick to the Invisible Cities part of your portfolio here. And obviously, I love London, so let's have a look at the photographs in London first of all. Now, I can't make these images any larger on the screen for people that are watching the show, so my apologies for that. But as you can see, this image is printed at 100 centimeters square. And as I mentioned to you yesterday, Irene, if you could just talk us through the images as I click on them and pass through, that would be great. I'm really interested at this point of view for you to just tell us your process of the development of this image after you've taken it.
Okay, so I take the photograph during daytime. It's not a night photograph.
Yeah.
Some people ask me if I go around with a truck and huge lamps, but I don't. Oh. But I would need like 10 people to carry the lamps.
Yeah, you would.
No, it's a process, of course, with all the layers on Photoshop, and it's about darkening and lightening, and it's all small steps, because but in one single step it won't work out well.
Yeah.
So it's quite a lot of work.
How long would it have taken you to develop this image, process this image before it goes to print?
I don't remember, because some images are more complicated, some are less.
Yeah.
And I hardly ever start one and do it to the very end. I do it part, I put it away, and then I do another one.
Yeah.
It's sort of to reach my eyes. So
yeah, you see,
it takes one day, sometimes it takes me a month. So it's difficult to say.
You see, some photographers, don't worry about the dog. He obviously, or she obviously thinks that she knows more about photography than you do.
Yes.
No, I've spoken to many photographers. Some basically spend five seconds on a photograph and feel that if they have to work more than 5 seconds, they're wasting their time. Others, where they're creating art like you are in this space, is fine art photography. It does need work. And of course, it builds up over time, doesn't it? Where you've looked at the image to start off with, you've decided it's the right image to work on, and then it builds on from there.
Yes, and I sort of know what I want to do, but I'm not 100% sure. And I love to work on it because I'm a painter, so I like that part.
This is obviously the previous one was the Battersea Power Station, which in actual fact now, Irene, it doesn't have any chimneys. These are all gone now, these chimneys.
Oh, I didn't see it with. That's horrible.
They've taken all the chimneys off now, and basically this is being rebuilt as it is. It's just going to be rebuilt, and the chimneys are going to be replaced. So the actual building will become the same as it is now, or what in this photograph. But if you were to look at it now, you wouldn't see any of the chimneys at all. It's going through a total refurbishment. It's going to be a shopping centre. There's going to be apartments there. It's going to be an amusement centre. It's going to be loads of activity going on here. We've waited for decades for this, and it's going to be amazing when it's finished. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there. I read about it. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you did read about it. Good. Great. Okay, so the next one is the Gherkin building, which always makes me laugh when I call it the Gherkin building. And again, it's the same process where you've darkened everything down and you've concentrated on highlighting this fantastic building of London.
Well, I love it.
Tell us about the. Go on.
In my photograph, it looks like a Fabergé egg.
Yes, it does. It does indeed. Tell us about the camera that you're using to take these photographs. You'll show me the camera later on because we're off screen, but.
Okay, I'll show
these
it
images are
Sorry.
Go on. Just tell us about the camera you're using and show me the camera later on when we come off the screen share.
Okay. It's a Hasselblad.
You use a Hasselblad. What lens would you have on the Hasselblad for these shots, Irene?
Usually I use a zoom.
Okay.
Because I want to be quick, because the light very often changes very quickly. So and also I don't want to carry all the lenses. It's too much for a whole day.
Yeah, I quite agree with you. It's a heavy camera to start off with, and then to add a couple of lenses on. Houses of Parliament here. Beautiful image there.
Yes.
And this one is the Lloyd's building.
Lloyd's building, yeah.
Yeah. I noticed that you're printing on rag paper. How much experimentation did you go through with regards to getting the right paper?
Oh, I very quickly used the rag paper because in the beginning I didn't have a printer. So I went to a printer and I said that I wanted the black part of the photograph to be really black, like a black velvet.
Yeah.
So he immediately said you need a cotton paper, a thick one, so that it absorbs a lot of ink. And so in my first exhibition, I used the same paper.
Yeah. I've read a lot about rag paper. I've never used it myself, but it certainly does give that dense black, which is obviously what you're looking for in images. Just going to show this last one of London, which is the Millennium Bridge. Yeah, I love the way that you've made this bridge so illuminated as it is.
Yeah, also it looks like a spine. It looks like...
It does indeed, yeah. It looks like a skeleton, doesn't it? It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to India, where there's a slight difference, a change of style here.
Yes.
Where you've gone...
Style. It's sort of the same style, light, but it's a total change of style.
Really, to a degree, I can understand, I think, why you've done this, because India, being the country that it is, it sort of lends itself to this style rather than it being as dark as the London images are.
Yes, it inspired me color, first of all. I couldn't think of India without color. And it always has this pink sky, so I really like it.
Yes, it's an amazing country.
Oh, this place was wonderful. That's
How long did you spend in India, Irene?
Oh, not long, about 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. Did you just stay in that sort of that triangular area with New Delhi and Agra and the other place?
Yes, it was a sort of a triangular, although I went off the track at one point.
Yeah.
Driving around on Indian highways with a chauffeur, it was quite something.
Yeah, exactly right.
You can do,
Yeah, very, very, very strange. They use their car horn quite a lot, don't they?
Oh yes, and on the highway they go any direction at full speed. It's
crazy out there. But as you say, a lovely country and very, very nice people as well. I really enjoyed it going out there. Let's have a look at Madrid.
Oh, there's not many pictures of Madrid. There's the fountain.
No, there's only two. Yeah, just got the two here. Taking a bit of time to load. We are experiencing some connection problems, but if what I'll do here, Irene, is I'll just show this final image of the Chrysler building, which I saw in a video of yours where you obviously you were discussing your exhibition to some people, and you were talking about this image in front. This is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Well,
the rag.
The Chrysler is beautiful to start with.
Yes,
so
it is.
It is magnificent. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I'm going to come out of that because I think we're having some delay. So I'm back now. You should be able to see me. Now you can show us your camera, the Hasselblad with your zoom lens, and if you could tell us what size zoom lens is that fitted to the camera.
Oh, I can't even tell you the numbers. Don't ask me technical questions.
Don't ask you technical questions.
I'm not good at that.
You just press the button.
I know what I'm doing, but I can't talk about the technical part because I don't remember. So you want to know, and you know what?
I saw the video of you looking.
I still think of my cameras when we had a zoom from 50 to 100. and I haven't gotten used to the digital.
Yeah, right.
So in my head, it's all mixed up.
Okay.
It's a 50 to 110.
There we go. We got there in the end.
The weight is acceptable of this combination. It's heavy, but it's okay. I love it. By the way.
Okay, let me ask it. Yeah, I bet you do. No, well, the results prove. Can I just ask, because I know nothing about Hasselblad, is that a digital camera or is that a film camera?
No, it's digital.
Digital, right, okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's much more fun with the digital.
Yeah, exactly right. I agree with you. I was really surprised because when I went onto the video and you were taking photographs in the Milan of the Milan Cathedral there, I was really surprised that you were using a Hasselblad. I thought it was a Phase 1 because I didn't see the name on the camera, because I naturally assumed that you would be using a DSLR, maybe a Nikon or a Canon of that, something of that nature. You've always used Hasselblad for this type of work now, or you haven't?
No. At first I didn't have the one. No, I used Canon and Nikon, and only after a few years I bought the Hasselblad. But the Hasselblad does have much more quality. So
okay,
I take a picture from far away, I can crop it, and it still has a lot of quality. So I think it's a great advantage for what I do.
Yeah, exactly. Because when we're talking here fine art, and I'm a Fuji user. So again?
I don't hear you.
Are you there?
Can you
hear me now?
Back.
Google Gremlins are back. Hold on a minute. We'll just bear with it. I think can you hear me now?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. I was going to say I'm a Fuji user, so my cameras are 1.5 crop, which is a mirrorless camera. I can imagine that obviously with your camera, there's obviously a larger sensor, which does allow you to crop and obviously gives you that quality of print. Now, a lot of the prints they're showing actually on your website, that's a meter wide, meter square. Those prints that you're selling. Gone again. Kaput? Am I back?
Yes, sort of.
This is really annoying. Okay. Oh dear, this is terrible, isn't it? Really bad link today. Irene, was the size of print that you're selling there is effectively, in some cases, a meter square.
Well, in some cases, a meter per 2 meters or even 2.5.
Wow, that's an extreme size. Now, originally your printing was done by a printer, but you've started to do your and what printer are you using there? This is not a simple desktop printer, because I've seen it. It's a real large format inkjet printer.
It's an Epson printer.
Right. Okay. And that, in actual fact, I know a little bit about the printing using those particular machines. It has to go to a RIP, yeah?
Yes, it does. My RIP is in between.
It goes to a RIP.
You see it there? Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to go through a RIP.
So
in the beginning, I didn't use the RIP.
Right.
You can also...
But that must be, sorry to interrupt, that must be the printing, yes? Because whilst you can send it to the RIP, you can then, for argument's sake, if you're in an editing process, you can then get on with some other work, can't you?
You can also do that if you don't use the RIP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's
thing without the RIP. But then when you handle a lot of photographs, it's convenient. RIP, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, just send it to the RIP when you're doing a batch full of prints. Yeah, that's an interesting. That's only because my company used to have some large format inkjet printers, 60-inch wides, where we used to print the graphics for exhibition stands. So we were quite familiar with computer to RIP to printer. Not with Epsons though. We used some other printer. I forget what it was. So let's talk about your book. Let's see your book. It's called Invisible Cities. Available on Amazon. and other places. And how many images have we got in that book there, Irene?
I have no idea. I don't know.
You don't... Just make a book for me and put it out there. Brilliant.
Don't ask me about numbers. I don't know. Well, quite
it's a lovely book. I've seen some images from it.
Quite a few photographs.
Yeah, quite a few photographs. It's lovely. It's a lovely book. And there's another one there you want to show us, which is all wrapped up in cellophane, but show us the cover of it as well.
Yeah, that's the one of Expo. There.
Lovely.
I'm very proud of this one because the other photographers read the names.
Yeah, I can see Meyerowitz there. Yeah, that's amazing. You got Meyerowitz there as well. One of my favorite street photographers.
Oh, one of my favorite photographers. And he does the contrary of what I do, but he's fantastic.
Yeah, he is. It's amazing. Again, another photographer which amazed me because the first videos I saw of him using his Leica on the streets of New York, that's brilliant. And then the next video I see he's using a 10x8 plate camera, taking photographs of New York and these landscapes. You know, he covers the whole wide aspect of everything, doesn't he?
Well, yes, he's fantastic.
Yeah, that's lovely.
He seems to also be a very nice man. So
yes, he comes over that way. That definitely does. And the story goes, I don't know whether you know, but he had to take a proof to a photographer to get approval of the proof for the book that they were doing. And he saw this guy doing the work, and he went back to his boss and said, "I'm leaving. I'm going to be a photographer. I've just seen my way." And that was it. And the guy, in actual fact, gave him a camera out of his drawer. He said, "You go for it, Joe." Amazing story. Amazing story. So we got the book in. That's great. We got that covered. Now, what this is, I think on our pre-show yesterday, we were talking about photographers that you like, your favorite photographers. You were a little bit sort of not too sure how you're going to approach this. So have you had time to think about it overnight?
Well, yes, I like, as I told you when we briefly talked yesterday, I like really a lot of photographers. But you said that you asked me actually who inspired me.
That's right.
So
yeah.
Talking about I was actually inspired a lot by painters.
Yeah.
So living in Italy, a painter like Caravaggio, inspired me so much because of the light he put in his paintings. And to me, that was more of an influence than whatever I saw afterwards. That was, I mean, everything I learned in Italy about the old masters was a very big influence on me, very big. So, and now, of course, I like so many photographers. I could tell you, I mean, really many, like Meyerowitz. But one I really like a lot is Sugimoto, because he transmits me this sense of strictness and peace that I like very. I feel like, I very much feel like his photos. So it's another kind of pleasure. It goes deeper.
I agree with you, actually, because some of the Japanese photographers, you do get that that sense of that there's something more in the image than just the image that's being shown. There's a soul of the image, which comes over more, I think, that I regularly see of Japanese photographers than I do of a lot of European photographers. Don't get me wrong, there are some very, very good European photographers, but the Japanese seem to sort of get into the soul of the image.
Well, yes, and if you think of their traditional paintings, it was all about, you know, these mountains and the clouds, also in Chinese things, and so it's a state of mind. It's about your soul. It's not about that mountain. So my work, this is what I try to do too. I take a photograph of a monument, but actually I'm trying to transmit a sensation, a feeling, which is far more than a monument itself.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from there, and I appreciate that from the work that you show. Would you say, bearing in mind there's been a slight difference of just the three portfolios that we showed there, would you say that there's a time where you will move on from taking photographs of the monuments and the buildings, or like, for instance, would you start doing landscapes and mountains, regions, that sort of thing?
Oh, yes, absolutely, absolutely. I would spend my whole life taking pictures of monuments. I like taking photographs of about everything that surrounds me.
Yeah.
So but I want to tell a story, so I concentrate on one subject for a while, but I will change that for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Because when you think about the especially the modern day architectural buildings that you've taken the photographs of there, the new designs and the architecture being created, they are so dynamic these days in all the cities. For instance, that photograph you took of the new tower in Madrid, Milan, sorry, in Milan, just around the corner from the cathedral there. That's there's just so many buildings that are being created now.
Well, because now they have all these new materials they work with. They can, with cement, instead of going like this, they can go like this, and at the same time like that.
Yeah.
So the shapes are fantastic. It's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, there's one particular city I forgot to click onto. Of course, was when you went to China and you took the photograph of the Olympic Stadium there, the Bird's Nest as it's called. They were. It's just an amazing setup. That one. It's good. So we go on.
Sorry.
Sorry, you carry on.
The Bird's Nest was actually an idea of Ai Weiwei. And then Herzog and de Meuron, the Swiss architects, built it. But the original idea was Ai Weiwei, to make it a bird's nest.
Amazing.
It's fantastic because it's huge. It's absolutely monumental.
I understand that it's not used at all now.
Yeah.
When
I went there,
yeah, it's just not used. It's amazing that you build something which is it's so majestic, and it just sits there and it's not used. I don't think it's even used for football, which is quite amazing. It's quite amazing, really.
The city. If it was in the middle of the city, they would use it, but it's out of the city.
Yeah.
So that happens.
Yeah, it does. It happens a lot with Olympic stadiums. Our one, in actual fact, as you probably know, is now going to be transformed into a football stadium for a local football team. So they will be using it. But they have got an athletics meeting taking place this weekend, I think. So it's nice to see it being used. Irene, when is your next exhibition being lined up? When are your next places you're going to visit for your exhibitions?
Well, I'm supposed to have an exhibition in Beijing
this
fall. And so that's quite interesting because I've been doing quite a few exhibitions now in China. And I love to go back, take more photographs, see the people that I've met. I met really nice people.
Have you ever exhibited your work in London?
Yes, I have.
And when would you be coming back to London? Nothing planned as yet.
I would love to come back to London. Right now, I don't have a gallery in London, so I'm not doing exhibitions. But I obviously would love to come back.
Yeah, I think we might, with a bit of luck, we might be able to sort of send a link onto a couple of galleries, because I think your work should be shown more in London than it is being. So have to see what we can do there for you. Send that on to someone.
Come back.
Sorry?
I would love to come back to London.
Yeah, it's great. Irene, it's been great to talk to you, and I do apologise that we've had such a bad link connection today. It's just one of those things with the internet. It's been great to talk to you and about your process and the way you develop your images, and of course your previous interest in art and painting and everything. There's a nice little introduction with your dog as well, Pete, joining us, which is always good fun. So I'd like to thank you for joining me for this evening, Irene. It's been really great, and please pass on my thanks to Julia as well for all her hard work and getting it all organised. It was really great. And
I will very much. I mean, many thanks to you, Paul.
No, it's no problem at all. And let's hope we can see your work in London soon, and we'll get hopefully a gallery will get in touch with you and put some work up for show, because it's something which is missing in this country, in my opinion. It's fantastic work. So anyway, we've come to the end of the show, folks.
The first to know.
Say again, you cut out then. Can you repeat that?
That I would be very happy to do it, and you will be the first one to know.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. So anyway, folks, I do apologise for the bad connection we've had today. It's just one of those things where the internet has a tendency to play about with us. It suffices to say that if you're, as Irene doesn't know how I close my show, but it suffices to say if you're out shooting this weekend, leave your camera bag at home. All the best to you. Bye for now.